Hello everyone. Today we will describe top 10 facts about Cleopatra, and now enough talking. 1. Cleopatra was the final monarch of the Ptolemaic dynasty. Cleopatra, though born in Egypt, her origins trace back to the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Macedonian Greek royal family. So she was not Egyptian. She was a descendant of Ptolemy I Soter, a general and friend of Alexander the Great. The Ptolemies were the final dynasty to rule Egypt, from 305 to 30 BC. Cleopatra became co-regent of Egypt alongside her brother Ptolemy XIII after her father Ptolemy XII's death in 51 BC2. She was well-educated and highly intelligent. Talking about her accomplishments: mathematician, chemist, philosopher, in the words of the historian Al-Masudi, who described her as, "She was a sage, a philosopher, who elevated the ranks of scholars and enjoyed their company. She was said to have written scientific books. She was also multilingual. Historical accounts suggest she spoke more than 5 languages, including her native Greek language, Arabic, Egyptian, Hebrew." 3. Cleopatra married 2 of her brothers. Cleopatra was 18 when she married to co-ruler Ptolemy, 13, which was her own brother, who was 10 years old at this period. Ptolemy tried to depose his sister, forcing her to flee to Syria and Egypt in 48 BC. After Ptolemy XIII's death, when defeated by her Roman-Egyptian forces, when she was 22, she again married another of his younger brothers, Ptolemy XIV, and he was 12. During their marriage, Cleopatra continued to cohabit with Caesar secretively and serve him as his lover. She married to Mark Antony in 32 BC. After Antony's surrender and suicide, and being defeated by the Octavian, Cleopatra was captured by his troops. 4. Cleopatra's allure was the creation of Roman Empire's propaganda. Opposed to recent representation from Elizabeth Taylor and Vivian Leigh, there is no proof among early historians that Cleopatra was the exceptional attractiveness. Present-day illustrations show Cleopatra with a sizable angular nose, thin lips, and sharp protruding chin. According to Plutarch, her actual beauty was not so remarkable that none could be compared with her. Her repute as a hazardous and captivating siren was in fact the creation of her opponent Octavian. Roman historians described her as a prostitute who used sex to mesmerize influential men into granting her authority. 5. She utilized her image as a means of power. Cleopatra considered herself to be a living goddess and was acutely conscious of the connection between appearance and control. Historian John Fletcher described her as a mistress of disguise and costume. She would show up clothed as the goddess Isis at sacred ceremonies, then immersed herself in luxury. 6. She was the admired pharaoh. Present-day Egyptian records indicate that she was cherished within her nation. As opposed to her Ptolemaic ancestors, who spoke in Greek and followed Greek traditions, Cleopatra regarded herself as a genuinely Egyptian pharaoh. She mastered the Egyptian language and authorized images of herself in the classical Egyptian style. 7. Cleopatra was a successful and strong leader. During her rule, Egypt was the wealthiest nation in the Mediterranean and the last to maintain autonomy from the speedily expanding Roman Empire. She strengthened Egypt's economy by engaging commerce with other Arabian nations, enhancing her country's position as global power. 8. Her partners were also her political partners. Her relationships with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony were as much military partnerships as romantic affairs. At the time of her meeting with Caesar, she was in displacement, removed by her brother. Caesar was to negotiate a diplomatic meeting between the fighting siblings. Cleopatra influenced her attendant to cover her in a rug and offer her to the Roman general. In her best dress, she begged Caesar for his help to reclaim her seat of power. According to all reports, she and Mark Antony were deeply in love. But by collaborating herself with Octavian's opponent, she helped defend Egypt from becoming a servant of Roman Empire. 9. Cleopatra was in Rome when Caesar was assassinated. At the time of Caesar's violent death in 44 BC, she was staying in Rome as Caesar's lover. His elimination risked her survival, and she escaped with their little son across the Tiber River. After returning to Egypt, Cleopatra straightway acted to strengthen her authority. She caused her brother Ptolemy 14 to be poisoned with aconite and replaced him with Caesarion Ptolemy 15, her own son. 10. Cleopatra had 4 children. She had one little son with Julius Caesar, who she named Caesarion, means Little Caesar. Cleopatra and Mark Antony had 3 children, twins named Cleopatra Selene and Alexander Helios, and Ptolemy Philadelphus. The children were taken to Rome by Octavian after their parents' deaths. Cleopatra Selene ultimately became queen of Mauritania by marrying King Juba II. The destinies of her brothers Alexander Helios and Ptolemy Philadelphus are unknown, as they vanished from historical accounts. None of Cleopatra's progeny succeeded to the Egyptian throne. Some scholars suggest that Cleopatra have ended her life using poison. Some say there was 2 servants with Cleopatra when they ended their lives together, challenging the popular belief that they died from an ASP viper bite. Let's end this here. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more. Click the like and subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you won't miss part 2.